It allows them to ratchet up the focus on Sharia law without us pushing back on it.
Well, in the months after 9/11, our next guest was approached by the CIA and asked to help develop a program to get more information from terror suspects, including a man who came to be known as the so-called mastermind of 9/11, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And not only did Dr. James Mitchell wind up interrogating KSM himself, he says the predictions that Mohammed made are already coming to pass in places like Berlin. And he says if we're not careful, the U.S. could wind up heading down the same path. Dr. James Mitchell joins us now, and he is also author of the new book, Enhanced Interrogation: Inside the Minds and Motives of the Islamic Terrorists Trying to Destroy America. Dr. Mitchell, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
What were your thoughts as you saw that attack play out in Berlin?
Well, the first thing I thought was that this is exactly the sort of thing that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had predicted. Back in 2004, maybe early 2005, years after his last harsh interrogation, he and I were talking about what he saw as upcoming trends in terror attacks. And he had become fascinated by the amount of damage that Malvo had done, along with Mohammed, around the Beltway when they were shooting people out of the trunks of cars. And for him, what surprised him was how much paralysis it caused, given how few deaths were involved, few from his perspective, right? And what he said to me was that our civil liberties and our openness and our willingness to be responsive to other people's cultures were actually gifts from his God, that they were weaknesses and flaws that he had put into, his God, Allah, had put into the American culture so that we could be defeated. He said that the easiest way to do that, in spite of the fact that Al-Qaeda dreamed of these big, huge, catastrophic attacks, that wasn't particularly practical. That the easiest way to win the long battle to take over the world with Sharia law was actually through immigration and by outbreeding non-Muslims. He said that like-minded jihadi brothers would immigrate to Western democracies and to the United States. They would wrap themselves in our civil liberties for protection. They would support themselves in our welfare systems while they spread their jihadi message. And then, when the time was right, they would rise up and attack.
We're talking about this case in Berlin, where now today we learn that he was a 23-year-old Tunisian. He's violent, we're told, may be armed. The missing paperwork was the reason why he wasn't deported.
No.
He had links to terrorism. What happened?
The missing paperwork was the last in that chain. What started that chain really was political correctness and their unwillingness to get this person out of their country who had no business of being there because he didn't have the right paperwork to prove who he was. If you suspect he's a terrorist, I would suggest that you don't wait for him to come up with his paperwork, that you get him out of your country. And that's what I believe we should do.
Okay, and so we have a new president coming in who says that political correctness has to go away. Do you expect change from the incoming Trump administration?
I hope that's going to be changed, because here's the way political correctness works for a guy like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. It allows them to operate in our midst without being challenged. It allows them to ratchet up the focus on Sharia law without us pushing back on it. And we end up inadvertently imposing on ourselves the blasphemy laws of Sharia, because we cut back on the things that they find offensive. We change the way we dress. We don't have Christmas parties anymore. You know, we don't say Merry Christmas to each other on the street. You know, women have to wear headgear. They set up these enclaves, and out of these enclaves, they try to impose Sharia on those people who come into them. We simply have to not let that happen.
Hey, thank you for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel right down here if you're not already subscribed. If you want to see more of our UTT videos, just click here or here and sign up for our newsletter and join us. Let's put freedom back on the offensive where it belongs.